A reading from the book of Revelation. I, John, saw in heaven another sign, great and awe-inspiring. 7 angels with the 7 last plagues, for through them God's fury is accomplished. Then I saw something like a sea of glass mingled with fire. On the sea of glass were standing those who had won the victory over the beast, and its image and the number that it signifies its name. They were holding God's harps, and they sang the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Great and wonderful are your works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are your ways, O King of the nations. Who will not fear you, Lord, or glorify your name? For you alone are holy. All the nations will come and worship before you, for your righteous acts have been revealed. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Responsorial Psalm. Great and wonderful are all your works, Lord, mighty God.
Great and wonderful are all your works, O Lord, mighty God.
Sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done wondrous deeds. His right hand has won a victory for him, his holy arm.
Great and wonderful are all your works, Lord, mighty God.
The Lord has made his salvation known. In the sight of the nations, he has revealed his justice. He has remembered his kindness and his faithfulness toward the house of Israel.
Great and wonderful are all your works, Lord, mighty God.
Let the sea and what fills it resound, the world and those who dwell in it. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains shout with them for joy. Great and wonderful are all your works, Lord, mighty God. Before the Lord, before he comes, for he comes to rule the earth. He will rule the world with justice and the peoples with equity.
Great and wonderful are all your works, Lord, mighty God. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke. Jesus said to the crowd, "They will seize and persecute you, and they will hand you over to the synagogues and to prisons, and they will have you led before kings and governors because of my name. It will lead to your giving testimony. Remember, you are not to prepare your defense beforehand, for I myself shall give you a wisdom in speaking that all your adversaries will be powerless to resist or refute. You will even be handed over by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but not a hair on your head will be destroyed. By your perseverance, you will secure your lives." The Gospel of the Lord. Just a couple of very quick observations to begin, and that is that we just heard yesterday's and today's Gospel just last Sunday. Not last Sunday, but the Sunday before, I should say. So it's a kind of an end-of-year, end-of-life kind of gospel that just so happens to work very well with yesterday's and today's feasts of martyrs, because it's the sense of persecution that is being talked about here. So it's not a special reading for Andrew Dunglach. It is, in fact, today's regular reading. A small remark before I actually make a point. The song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb that is excerpted here for us in our first reading is, in fact, one of the New Testament canticles used in evening prayer, in the Liturgy of the Hours. Now, back when I was at St. Ignatius, I was very good friends with a woman there that I wound up doing evening prayer often enough with. And I would always hear her voice when she would do that part of it where the translation that is in the breviary is slightly different from ours here, And the way she would read it would be like this. You could just hear a mother saying this, "Who would dare refuse you honor?" And that's the way she just came across, like, who would dare? Ooh, not me, I'm not going to dare. The point that is more important for us, I think, today, though, spiritually, is when we look at this business of the 7 angels with the 7 last plagues through which God's fury is accomplished. Now that sounds like a really, really bad scene. And it's supposed to be a bad scene, but there's a point to it that we can sometimes miss by hearing language like, the grapes of wrath or the plagues of God's fury, okay? And that is that they both really are translating one simple Greek word, orgi, which actually means the wrath of God for the sake of reestablishing justice, okay? It's not God getting ticked off as such. It's God restoring justice and balance. Okay, now that might mean redress of people being persecuted, and that's kind of the sense of revelation that we have here, okay? Or it might just be getting people back in gear, so that the letter to the Hebrews talks about don't disdain the discipline of the Lord, because the sons and daughters that he accepts, he trains and disciplines, okay? So in that sense, we're talking about a restoration or a bringing forward of the way it's supposed to be. What is it that is the way in which we're supposed to be? What is God's justice that God's wrath here is intended to restore? That justice is living in right relationship with others and therefore being in right relationship with God, since we are the image and likeness of God, okay? So what does that mean for us from a New Testament point of view? Very simply, go to the Beatitudes. Okay? The justice of God is established when we live with one another, consoling one another, hungering for justice, making peace, being single-hearted, being merciful. This is to live the justice of God. This is to live the life of the kingdom of heaven. And so this is what God intends to bring. Now the book of Revelation is going to bring an absolute final end to all injustice and an absolute final beginning to all justice in the kingdom. And that's why it's an apocalyptic or eschatological or end of the world kind of writing. But God's desire is for every single one of us to live in his sense of justice, of right relationship. So as Andrew Dunglock and his companions suffered terribly for the sake of the name, we can ask the Lord to help us just to live today in the way that really, really reflects God's justice. Let us stand and pray.